Hey, good evening, guys. It's Chaplain Ken, and welcome back to A Time with Chaplain Ken. We've been going over the first 3 steps so far for drug addiction. I hope you guys have learned some things. If you like my videos, please give me a like, give me a subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can see when my next ones are coming up. And also share them with your friends. Feel free to share them however way you want to. If you want to use them in your facilities or in a group or setting or something, you have my permission. I don't have any copyrighted material, so just sharing with you a little bit about what I've learned over the years of working in drug addiction as a chaplain. Step 1 for drug addiction states that we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction and our lives had become unmanageable. This is the step that every addict or alcoholic needs to take to begin the process of recovery. Tonight what I want to do is look at the flip side of the step work, because there is a dynamic that the alcoholic puts their family through, that the family needs to realize that they can use the same steps to help them in their own recovery from not their addiction but from their loved one's addiction. Because a lot of times family, they don't have the tools it takes in order to combat the addiction, because it's so baffling and cunning. Not a lot of people are aware of what's going on when they're facing this problem, at least in the beginning, until eventually the cat's out of the bag. And you know why the drama is always around the house. But for Al-Anon, the Al-Anon principles to follow in using the step work is what we're going to go through tonight. Let's start off with a premise. And I'm speaking to the family tonight, those suffering with a loved one that's going through an addiction. Number 1, you have the right to have peace in your own home. Okay? You have the absolute right. Don't get the idea that you're going through this because somebody's punishing you, or because you did something wrong, or karma's hitting you, or God's punishing you, or you're just a bad person and you deserve all this kind of stuff. This is stuff an addict will key in on and use against you. But because none of that stuff is true. What you're going through is what you're going through. Alright? I won't sugarcoat it for you. But what you're going through is just the reality of what you're going through. Let's just start with that. But you have the right. This is the first premise. You have the right to have peace in your own life and in your own home. Alright? You deserve it. You're supposed to have it. I want you to start thinking, family members, start thinking into this stuff. All of the chaos, all the drama you've been going through over the years, you don't need that in your life. You might even say the words, but there may be a part of you that says that you don't deserve any better. That's a big lie. Number 2, you don't have to drag yourself through the ringer in trying to fix and solve this problem alone anymore. You don't have to go through all this. All this can change. It can stop. Number 3, you have to set some boundaries in your life. And number 4, you need to learn to lovingly detach. More on that later. But family needs to come to realize that they are powerless when they're looking at step 1. Step 1 for the family member is to realize that they are powerless over addiction. Maybe not your own, but you're powerless over your loved one's addiction just as powerless as they are. If they've come to learn that, it'd be a good idea for you to learn the same thing. If they haven't learned that, it's still a good thing for you to figure out for yourself. You are powerless over what they're going through, and your life's become unmanageable. So how is a family's life becoming unmanageable? How has your life become unmanageable? Give me some comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you've been going through. I've heard it all before. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it. In 10 years, you learn a lot about this stuff. So I've heard the experiences. I've seen the experience. I've watched the experiences. I've seen the whole drama play out in other people's lives. It's a tough thing to deal with, to go through. But you're powerless over what you're going through. In other words, you don't have an answer for it. So number 1, when you realize that you are powerless over your addiction or their addiction, you can then begin to do things that help you manage their chaos. And when I say manage their chaos, I'm saying manage it for your sake, not for them. They've got to figure it out themselves. If you have a loved one in addiction, They've got to learn. They've got to figure it out for themselves. They've got to experience junk themselves, unfortunately, before they wake up and have that moment of clarity. So for the family, when I say you have to manage it for yourself, I'm talking about finding a place of serenity in your own home and limiting the damage that's coming into your life because of someone else's choices or someone else's addiction. All right? So how do families that do not work the steps, that have not worked the steps, that are unfamiliar with the steps, how do they manage? How do they try to control everything? Well, the first thing they try to do is they attempt to control the drug addict. How's that working out for you? You know, after years and years of trying to make them quit, it ain't working, is it? Everything you've tried. Give me some comments of how you try to control things in your own life. Here are some. How many of you guys ever tried to hide the drugs in your house so they wouldn't find it? Prescription medicine. Let's even call it medicine, because for you it is medicine. For them it's a drug. It's different. How many of you guys tried to hide the medicine or the drugs? How many of you guys tried to control the purse strings and take all the credit cards away, but they somehow found out how to get money out of you? How many of you guys tried to hide your money under the pillow or the mattress or inside the book, or you name it? How many of you guys tried to do that and they found it anyway? How many of you guys put the medication in a lockbox only to find out they became expert lock pickers and they figured out how to get in there? Yeah, because they're pretty desperate then when they want what they want when they want it. And everything that you've tried. How many of you have withheld affections from your loved one to punish them, to straighten them out? How many of you guys have ostracized your drug addict or your alcoholic with shame and guilt heaped upon them over and over again, and it hasn't worked? Yeah, these are some of the attempts that families normally use to try to control the person that is out of control. They're out of control, and there's nothing that you can do. And the moment you begin to realize that is the moment you begin to learn and use your other tools available to you. We'll get into that as time goes on. Some families have tried to attempted to help the other person get into recovery, and found out that that's not the answer either. How do you try to help your loved one when they're suffering from the addiction? Well, how many family members, how many of you guys have tried to cover for your mom or your dad, or your husband or your wife, or your sister, or your uncle, or your grandma? Yep, even grandmas get into this. Remember, this addiction knows no limits. It'll take the best of us and make us into the worst of us. And it's because that's just the nature of the addiction. So, yeah, grandma and grandpas, yep. Even the pastors can fall into this thing too. So, yeah, this is a demon that's out there hunting and looking around and trying to find what it can, and it'll find whoever it can. So how many of you guys try to cover? Oh, well, they're sick. Oh, they're not feeling good. I think they have the flu. They've had a hard day at work, and that's why they're not here. You know, things like that. Or you tried to call the work. Oh, Christine's sick. She's not going to make it into work today. She asked for me to call you because, you know, she's got laryngitis and she can't talk on the phone. So I'm making this call for her as she's coughing in the background to try to sound as pathetic as she can be. That kind of thing. We try to cover or make excuses for the other person. When the reality is, instead of saying, you know what, they were drunk and I didn't help them. Yeah, that's why they're at home sleeping it off. That's too shameful for us, and sometimes our own pride gets in the way. And I'm not saying that that's how you're supposed to handle it, but that's the reality. We don't want to come out and put out the reality and air our dirty laundry, because it's uncomfortable and it's hard. And I'm not saying that you have to do it that way. There are ways. But when you're working step one, what happens when we work step one is that the family begins to realize that they didn't cause this. They can't control it and they can't cure it. All right. So no matter what they've done, number one is the family needs to realize in working step one, you didn't cause this. This is not your fault. As much as the addict and alcoholic may want to tell you, this is all your fault because you didn't buy me that teddy bear when I was 3. No, that's not. No, you didn't buy me a car. You didn't give me enough attention. No, 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 no. That the reason a person's in addiction is because they made a choice to go there in the first place, and the next thing you know, they're stuck. Yeah. So no, none of this is your fault. Can you contribute to it once it started? Absolutely. That's why the family needs to work, step 1. But that's not saying it's your fault. That's just recognizing how you've contributed. All of these attempts at controlling and helping, you've actually contributed to the sickness. Because what happens when you try to hide the drugs? What happens when you try to control the medication? What happens when you control the bank account? And you try to do all these things, and you're withholding affections, and you're ostracizing, you're shaming, you're belittling, you're just ripping them up one side down the other all the time. You're just giving them another reason to go out and use if you're doing that. Or you're just making a sport out of it. And they'll go for it. They'll find it. Your attempts at helping also are enabling this person to stay exactly where they are. How do we attempt to help? I just mentioned some of them. Some of the more diabolical ways, and that if we're not careful, even though they may seem appropriate, are very, very harmful. I knew somebody who went to treatment. Brother used to always put him in the treatment because brother made money. Here, man, go to treatment. I'll pay for it. Don't worry about it. Guy would come in. He'd sleep it off. He'd get better there for a few days. He'd even hang out for the whole program, and he'd leave. 2-3 weeks later, he was back. True story. Brother kept paying him off for years. This was going on long before I even got to the facility. The last time I saw the gentleman, he had wet brain, Wernicke syndrome. This is when the alcohol got into his brain so much and damaged it so badly he never came back. Mentally, psychologically, emotionally. He was just a blinking shell, just staring at me. And I had to be honest with him. I said, man, you don't look good. And he can barely talk. He can barely make a sentence. And it took his life. It was a sad thing to see. But we keep throwing money at the problem. It ain't going to fix it. See, what happens when we rescue, when we enable, and we cushion the fall of the alcoholic or the drug addict, we are actually prolonging the damage and prolonging the pain, prolonging the hurt that they're going through. By cushioning the fall, the addict or the alcoholic will never ever experience the consequences that they're supposed to suffer in order for themselves to wake up. If a person falls and they hit hard, I hope that didn't hurt your ears, and they hit hard, they're going to say, whoa, that doesn't feel good. I don't like this. And they suffer that consequence, and nobody saves them. Nobody pays the bail. Nobody gets them out of jail. They sit it out, and they're there for however long, and they go through that process. They're less likely to go through that again because they have experienced the pain. When the family cushions the fall by paying the tickets, by paying the court fees, by getting them out of bail, by limiting the consequences to their drinking or drugging, we're not doing them a favor. We're taking away from them the responsibility to be mature, to grow up, to make better decisions, to make that decision to say, I can't do this anymore, I need help, I want to change. Because once they do that, they're getting to their step 1, and they can get better from there. But if they never experience that, we'll prolong their agony. We'll draw it out longer than it needs to. So if you have family member that's in addiction, and you're going through this, and you find yourself, you've been enabling your loved one to stay sick, it's time to stop. It's okay. It's time to stop cushioning their fall. They'll never experience it. And in the literature, there's a story of a lady who used to always pick up her husband out of the basement and clean him off. Put clean pajamas, get the vomit off of his chest and his soiled pajamas. She'd clean him up. He'd be oblivious to it because he was already out. He was blacked out. He'd wake up in the morning on a nice soft bed, nice clean pajamas. None the wiser until she stopped. And she said, you know what, I'm going to stop doing this. He doesn't even realize what he's doing. She stops picking him up. He wakes up on the floor in the basement, smelling of vomit and urine, and he looks at himself, and she sets up a mirror for him to look at himself in the mirror, and he's like, yeah, what is this? And he had no clue because his wife was always cleaning him up. Goes upstairs, and the wife is cooking him breakfast, and she's not angry, she's not bitter. She very calmly asks him, you ready for breakfast? Very good, very well done. She didn't go and jump on him and get angry at him, because what's he going to do if we do that? What's your loved one going to do? They're going to fight back, and they're going to get this martyr complex, and they're going to say, you don't understand me and the problems that I have, and there they go. They've gotten better. They haven't gotten better. They've never learned their lesson, and they stay sick, and they go start using again, and this time it's going to be at you because you made them mad. Well, you don't need that anymore. When she allowed him to see what he was doing to himself, he began to change. Because she stopped cushioning the fall. She stopped rescuing. She stopped enabling. So if you're going through that, find a group where you can sit and talk about it and learn how to work through that, because that's a tough one to stop, because you think you're helping. The love that you have is causing you to do this, but it's misguided. It's really not helping. So the love that comes from the Al-Anon member, the family member, the Al-Anoner, it has to be applied differently than before. It's the same love, but it's applied differently. Instead of rescuing, you lovingly detach. You step back and you say, you know what, honey, if you're sick and hungover and you need to call work, then you call work. I'm done calling work for you. And make him make the call. You don't play. You don't jump in there and try to rescue. You don't go in there and do the things you used to do anymore. And this takes practice. And if you start doing this stuff, you have my full support. And if you find an Al-Anon group that you can talk to, somebody, a sponsor you can get with, cool. Counselor, find her. Him. Good chaplain, talk to him. Talk to her. Tell them what you're going through. And with their help and with their support, you can find the strength to be able to turn the page on this thing, to stop the chaos and to stop the bleeding, because you deserve better. All right, because if we don't learn how to do that and set those boundaries, So what happens when a family works? Step one, they lovingly detach. They allow the addict to suffer the consequences. They remove that safety net. That is so, that is, and I'll admit, doing these videos, I can sit there and tell you, it's got to be done. But when you're in that position and you sit there and you can't, and you say, I'm done, I can't help you. I've had to do that. And it is the toughest thing to do when you're looking at your loved one and you're saying, I'm sorry, man, I can't help you. I'm going to turn you over to God, and I'm hopefully that as you begin to pray and you get your life together, He can help you, because I can't. I'm done. I can't keep doing this. The toughest words that came out of my mouth were those words, when I had to use those words. It was not easy. But you know what happened when I did that? I stepped out of the way. And something miraculous happened. We'll talk about that in the next video, because that's about steps 2 and 3. But when we remove that safety net, I know it's a tease, I know, but I'll share more in the future. When we remove that safety net, we're allowing the process to we're allowing the tape to play through. Let me put it that way. We're letting them experience exactly what they need to experience in order for themselves to wake up. So, because all the screaming in the world hasn't done it, has it? So let's go on. When we lovingly detach, when we're working a good, faithful step 1 as an Al-Anon family, we put ourselves in a spiritual place. One that is not fueled by anger. See, when we lovingly detach, this may be going through your mind, oh good, this is where I get to stick it to them. No, that's not what I'm saying. If you lovingly detach and you remove the safety net out of anger or bitterness, and they'll sense it, it's not going to work. Not for them or not for you. Because for them, they'll twist it in their own thinking and say, these people hate me. Everybody hates me. And what are they going to do? All they need is another excuse to go out and use again. That's the excuse. You're giving it to them. So when you're using your step 1 and you're doing this thing out of love, they will experience what real love looks like. And I love you, man. I can't, but I can't anymore. I can't do that. You're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. No, I can't come pay the bail. No, I'm not. I can't get you out of jail. No, I can't do that anymore. I can't. I'm done doing this for you. I love you. If you need me to come visit, I'll come visit you in jail. Talking on the phone, you know how it is. I'll do that, but I'm not gonna. Yeah, you're gonna have to. This one's on you. You're gonna have to do this yourself. They'll do that once or twice, and then they'll realize, you know what? This isn't fun anymore. I don't like this anymore. I don't like the bill anymore. I don't like the lawyer talk anymore. I don't have to stand before the judge anymore. I don't like waking up with a hangover. I don't like losing the job anymore. I don't like what my liver is doing to me anymore. I don't like what my kids are doing anymore. They don't talk to me anymore. They've set their boundaries. My wife is not. She's setting her boundaries. It's ruining my relationship. Don't feel the love. There is love, but it's not like it used to be. And when they experience that, then good for you. You've done a good job. When you do this, what happens is you begin to limit the chaos and drama in your life, because now you can say, I will go this far and no further. You may say, you know what, if the world is mistreating you and beating you down, I will be your champion. But if you get yourself into a mess, you are on your own. Okay, you've got to figure that out. Don't drag me into that. I love you. I'll be here when you get out of that mess, but I am not going to be a part of that anymore. I am so much done. And then you take your kids and you go do something fun with them, and you let your loved one figure it out. That's what Al-Anon looks like. That's what working step 1 looks like. But done out of principle and out of love. Because when you do it out of love, it's attended with a power that you don't have on your own. Love is very, very powerful. So when you do this out of love, you are allowing the natural course of things to take place. Okay? So if you're worried that it's going to cause more problems, no, it's not. Millions of people in Al-Anon have done this, and they have learned that the secret behind lovingly detaching and allowing the chips to fall where they may. Alrighty. So remember, step 1 for Al-Anoners. This is the family members. You didn't cause this. Alright? This isn't your fault. No. It isn't your fault. You can't cure this. You can't fix this. These are the 3 C's, okay? You didn't cause this. You cannot cure this. And number 3, you cannot control this. So step 1 is allowing you to realize these 3 simple truths and realizing, you know what? I can't fix this. I can't fix them. The only thing I can do is limit the damage it's causing me and my family. And by setting boundaries and lovingly detaching, I can do that. And then you yourself can have serenity in your own right, because you deserve to have the peace, right? Like we said, the premise in the beginning, you deserve to have peace in your home. You deserve to have peace in your life. You deserve to be comfortable when you come home and open the door, and not find, looking like a distillery or a crack house or something. You deserve to have better in your life, and then have to deal with the drama and chaos of the addict or the alcoholic. And so when you do this, you work these steps, what happens is something spiritual happens. And this is why these steps are brilliantly done. Because when the family realizes that they have no power over their addiction and that their lives have become unmanageable, they too must do step 2 and step 3. And that's what we're going to talk about the next time. What does that look like for the family? To trust in a power greater than them, to believe that a power greater than you can help you. And we'll talk about that the next time. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll leave you at that. Again, this is step 1 for Al-Anoners, okay? And the Al-Anon is the booklets that the 12 Steps puts out, and that's for the family members. Yeah, Alcoholics Anonymous, that's for the Alcoholics, and Narcotics Anonymous, yeah. So this is step 1 for the family members. I hope you've learned something. If you have, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, give me a share. Click on the bell, and subscribe. Share this with your friends. Ask them to subscribe as well. The more this information gets out, the better humanity will be. That's all I'm in it for. So you take care. God bless you, and I'll see you around next time. Okay? Bye bye.